My father-in-law, M60s, is being catfished by a woman online and won't accept it. He already sent her a lot of money. Father-in-law, M60s, told me and my husband about a woman he matched with on a dating website over the summer. She had her own company, works overseas, and is planning on coming back to the US in 2 weeks. He had not Skyped or even spoken on the phone with her yet, just sending pics back and forth. He told us her full name, so we googled her. Absolutely nothing showed up except people with the same name who had died years ago. You'd think if she had her own international company her name would be out on the internet somewhere. We were immediately suspicious and my husband warned him about catfishing and not to give anyone money from the internet. He said he understood and would stop talking to her if she asks for money. So we left it alone and hadn't heard him talk about her for a few months. Figured it fizzled out, or he figured out it wasn't a real person. In hindsight, I should have asked him about it before now. He has had plans to visit us for 2 months now. He surprises us the week before saying this woman is going to meet us too and he will pick her up from the airport. He even showed us her flight itinerary. Then the day before he leaves, he says she is unable to leave the country and he will explain when he gets here. WTF? ? So I finally asked him what happened with her flight. Was it cancelled? I don't even remember what he said. And he made a comment saying, well, I've invested a lot in this woman already, I'm not gonna just let things end. I'm over here thinking he meant emotionally invested, but my husband asks, how much money have you given her? He says 50. Husband, 50 what? $50,000! Exclamation mark. We are both shocked and horrified. Turns out he has been paying small sums of 1-2K over several weeks/months. Sounds like he was paying for her app, which she claimed was $800 per week, and was sending it to some guy in the US who would deposit it to her. It was some elaborate BS story about even though she has a company and contract worth 20 mil, she's not able to access these funds and needs him to send her money. He doesn't even have 50K to give, so he took out a 20K loan from a sick relative. We told him this is a scam and this is exactly what they do. He hadn't even video chatted or talked on the phone with this person. He said, well, I told her I can't send her any more money, so all I can do is see what happens next. He still doesn't believe this is a scam. I don't know what to do next. Do I contact the FBI, sit him down and go through all the pics and documents she sent him to prove to him it's fake? This is still actively happening and he's still texting her. Update: we spoke with him tonight for 2+ hours about this. My husband went through each document and pointed out how it looked fake. The city where she lives was spelled wrong on a document. We tried a reverse image search but it actually didn't show up, and he had a variety of pics of her. So I'm thinking it's someone's aunt or someone they have access to. She sent a pic of her license and passport and still couldn't find the time to call him on the phone. After an hour of pointing all these things out to him, I asked him, do you think this is a scam? He said, I'm 50-50 on it right now. He still thinks it is a real woman he was talking to, just that he got caught up in a bad situation. So we kept talking for another hour. One thing that is concerning me is that she asked him to create an email account for her. Does anyone know why she would do this? He also had bank accounts and PIN numbers she gave him archived in his Google Hangouts, but he suddenly deleted them a few days ago by accident. I said, do you remember actually deleting them or pressing a button? He said, no, I was looking for them and all of a sudden they were gone. I think she has access to his email and deleted these chats. Do you think she could have access to his computer too? He paid her about 50K total. The first 30K in money orders sent to a man in the US, and then 20K in Bitcoin. He took out personal loans from a credit union to pay this person. He needs to start repaying the loans next month. He literally only stopped because he ran out of access to money. The loan from the relative was 12K, not 20K like I said before. But I'm very concerned because he is actually taking care of her and he has access to her finances. I asked him explicitly if he verbally asked her for this loan and she agreed to it. He said he asked her to loan him the money and she knew it was to help out this woman. By the end of the convo I had reiterated several times, this is a scam. Do not give this person any more money. This is not a real woman you are talking to. We are going to file a report to the FBI/IC3. gov website tomorrow. I'm glad he is staying here with us while he is going through this. I'm still not convinced he believes she's not a real person yet. Update number 2, we told him not to talk to this person anymore and not to try to play games to catch her in the act. Wake up this morning and find out he has been texting them and trying to get them to admit how much money they took from him. He still thinks it is a woman he is romantically involved in. I said I'm going to stop referring to this person as she because this is not a real person and probably a man. He got very defensive when I said that. He also cried a bit when he said how lonely he's been over the past few years. Waiting to file a report when my husband gets home. Do a reverse Google search on her images. My grandma is in a similar predicament with an Italian oil worker who lost his tools and will be fired if he can't buy more. She's on a fixed income with social security checks. Don't feel bad for her though. Her life has always been a mess and she won't listen to us that it's a scam. We even told him to do a reverse image search months ago. I don't think he knew how and didn't think he needed to. He lives across the country and this is the first time we are sitting down with him. But yes, we will do that tonight if he lets us. I feel so heartbroken for him. He's so kind but obviously has been sheltered from online scams. You could consult Adult Protective Services. This is exploitation and depending on his medical/mental health, they might consider him a vulnerable adult. It appears he lacks insight into the consequences and he may need a legal conservator to manage his financial affairs since he fails to recognize a scam. Might want to check with your local county attorney about becoming his court-appointed financial conservator. Say for example your father suffers a stroke in a year or two and needed nursing home placement. He'd have to go on Medicaid if he's not wealthy. Medicaid would turn him down because he has given away his assets, money, in the last 5 years. Medicaid looks back 5 years and they will not cover nursing home placement until you spend down your assets, but in this case, he gave his assets away so someone would have to come up with the cost of the money that was given away to pay the nursing home. They are not sympathetic to the fact he was exploited either, so someone in your family might want to intervene now. Google Dr. Phil. Apparently he talks about catfishing in a way that the elderly people believe him. Wow, I was gonna say, call Dr. Phil. He just had a whole episode, 2 hours long on this. The man had sent her thousands. Dr. Phil proved she didn't exist. And please don't call me elderly, we are not all that clueless or gullible. Oh bless him, this is awful. There's a special place in hell reserved for people who prey on lonely older people. Definitely report it. I doubt he will get the money back, but if they catch whoever it is, at least it won't happen to anyone else. What is so special about her texts that makes him so attracted to her? You may want to look into that. Also, help him update his dating profile and steer him to a good dating website. Some dating websites are just full of scammers. I think he's just lonely and this was literally the first woman to match with him. It was on OkCupid. I'm 29 and am no longer feeling sexually attracted to my GF 29F of 2+ years. Title: basically, love my GF and for the most part we have had a great relationship, to the point that we've talked about starting a family together etc. But over the course of the last year or so I just haven't found myself attracted to her sexually in the same way that I used to, and our sex life/relationship has struggled because of it. I hardly ever initiate sex anymore, and when I do, it's to make her happy and try to convince myself that I should sacrifice my feelings for the good of our relationship. When she initiates I find myself not turned by her advances, and honestly it's hard to keep it up sometimes because of that, a problem I've never had before. In public, I'll catch myself checking out other women that have basically the complete opposite physical features to my GF. This makes me feel extremely selfish and unfaithful. I just don't know what to do. I definitely don't want to waste my GF's time, but the thought of losing the person I have spent almost every day of the last 2.5 years with is heartbreaking. Edit: I haven't had a chance to go through the comments until now, about 4 days later, but thank you to everyone who replied, I really appreciate it. Honestly, right now I think the top comment from /you/Heidi, he really hit the nail on the head. I noticed that my feelings about the relationship had changed, and I guess I wrote this post almost in hope that it would explain to myself why I feel the way that I do. Anyways, I'm sorry if that comes across as me being disingenuous to all of you, but just know that after reading all these comments I've made the decision to break up with her. As a lot of you have mentioned, it's the most fair thing to do and everyone deserves a partner that is on the same page. Sunk cost fallacy. Because you already invested so much on the relationship, you would rather keep it going and be depressed, than end it to pursue a new one. After 2 years. Figure this out or let her go. If you hang on, you will ruin 20 years. When this happened to me and they hadn't changed anything in their appearance, it was due to me checking out of the relationship. Started to see them more as a best friend or sibling rather than someone I was also sexually attracted to and wanted to be with romantically. You could be so familiar with her that it has become routine and unstimulating. It jumps out at me that you have spent every day together, so your brain could be lacking for stimulation. Have a think about what attracted you in the first place compared to where you are now. For example, if you only spend time together doing necessary things, rather than dating, then you become more like roommates than a couple. It does not mean that you don't love them any less. It has just become a pattern. Stimulation is important. If you always have cake available, you will get bored of cake and crave vegetables. It doesn't mean you don't like cake though, you just crave variety. Guy is offended I told him I have a boyfriend. Man that works in my school offered to help me with something I was struggling in since I'm in a new country alone and I don't know how some things work, plus the language barrier. I didn't seek him out. He approached me. I agreed and we met up, but the place was closed for corona restrictions and they told us to call on Monday. He insisted on getting coffee instead of just going our separate ways. He refused for me to pay for my drink, then he took me to a park to talk, said he'll do my paperwork for me, he'll call for me on Monday, and he'll go with me to sign the papers, etc. He said if I have any friends or family around. I said I have my boyfriend but he's not in the country at the moment, and he got quiet. I had to start another topic to get him to talk again. He then walked me home to my door, and told me before separating to call him if I feel like going out or if I want to be shown around the city. I told him I know the city well enough already and said goodbye. The next day he messaged me. I did not reply right away because I was uncomfortable. When I replied an hour later he said, "Where were you? Were you sleeping?" I said no, I was using my computer. He said, "Why, what were you doing? Having fun or something useful?" It was creepy but I said something useful. He then asked if I'd like to go for a walk with him by the river or if I'd like to go shopping with him. I definitely don't. I only went out with him yesterday because he offered to help. I told him I have a boyfriend and I don't think it's appropriate to go out with him without an important reason. He got very offended. He sent me paragraphs saying I embarrassed him and that he helps all people, not just me, and that he thought I was lonely and just wanted to help me. I apologized and said I'm thankful for his help, but he kept sending so much texts making it like what I did was wrong and that I offended him and just making me really uncomfortable. Did I do anything wrong? I'm really worried about having to see him at school in January. And he's supposed to call the office for me on Monday, but I definitely don't want his help anymore.